The Galactic Council had just finished another long and boring session when the emergency alarm began to blare. It echoed through the marble chambers like a scream in a church. Every representative turned toward the glowing red lights and rising, warning tones. Something had gone wrong, very wrong. A transmission was being received from the edge of council-controlled space, but it wasn't clear. Only pieces of it came through, and even those pieces were strange, terrifying, and completely unexpected. Jara, a young technician stationed at Outpost K7 on the rim of known space, had been alone for her shift. The stars outside her observation window looked calm, but the instruments weren't. They had started blinking in red, then flashing, then showing impossible readings, gravitational waves where none should be, energy levels surging like a sun was being born. Her fingers flew over the controls as she activated the long-range comms. Her voice was shaky as she said, "This is Outpost K7. Something's coming. It's not like anything I've seen before from Earth." Then the transmission cut off. Static filled the feed and Jara was never heard from again. Ambassador Velen, an old and respected member of the Trelkin Alliance, stood at the center of the council hall. His scaled skin was pale, his jaw trembling. As he played the recording for everyone, the words from Earth echoed like a ghost in every mind. Some laughed nervously, thinking it was just another Terran trick. Others whispered to each other, worried by the quiet fear in Jara's voice. Many in the galaxy still thought of Earth as a minor planet, primitive, noisy, full of ambition but lacking true power. Yes, they had defeated a few pirate groups, even pushed back a minor invasion, but dark matter technology? No, that was impossible. Everyone agreed it was forbidden, dangerous, and unsolvable. No species had managed to control it without destroying themselves. But now there were rumors. Director Lena Ford of Earth's Defense Assembly had been silent. The humans had stopped attending council meetings months ago, saying they needed time to focus inward. No one took them seriously. But now systems near the Sol region were going dark, entire listening posts weren't responding, and trade ships that passed near the edge of Terran space disappeared without trace. No distress calls, no escape pods, just silence. Velen demanded an immediate investigation. He looked at the other ambassadors, his voice sharp. "We ignored the Terrans too long," he said. "We pushed them into isolation, and now they return with shadows at their side." But the others were still hesitant. Ambassador Koral of the Vexari Confederacy leaned back and shook her head. "This is fear-talking," she said. "Earth does not have the resources. They are bluffing. They always bluff." Then came the second report. A trading vessel had picked up pieces of wreckage drifting in the void, twisted metal that didn't match any known design, not even Terran. But analysis revealed something terrifying. The wreckage had traces of spatial folding, as if it had been crushed by the universe itself, not weapons, not collisions, like space had swallowed it and then spit it back out in a melted form. The council went silent again, one by one. Frightened diplomats started to whisper of Earth's old research into dark matter weapons, projects they were told had failed, technologies locked away deep under the surface of their oceans. But what if they hadn't failed? What if the humans had simply gone quiet so no one would see their progress? And then came the final confirmation. 5 more outposts had gone silent, each one along the outer path of what could only be Earth's expanding reach. Not a single survivor. No explosions, no battles, just disappearance. Back in the cold black of space near a dead moon, a single Terran probe sent out a silent message across the void. Its signal coded, encrypted but unmistakably human. It said only one thing: Obsidian Phase 1 complete. The council panicked behind closed doors, arguments breaking out between those who wanted to prepare for war and those who wanted to hide. But no one could agree on what Earth was doing. Were they testing a weapon or simply sending a message? Were they becoming a threat? Or were they already the masters of a technology no one else understood? Velen, still shaken, stared out the window of the council chamber, watching stars blink slowly in the dark. His claws tapped the arm of his chair as he whispered, "We were wrong to ignore them. We were fools to push them. Now they will return not as petitioners but as gods of the void. And Earth remained silent, silent as the stars, silent as the dark but moving, always moving, unseen but felt, like a shadow stretching across the galaxy, bringing fear where there once was arrogance, and mystery where there once was pride. The age of Terran silence was over, and something powerful was coming through the stars, not with a roar, but with a whisper that made even the bravest races hold their breath. In a secret base buried deep under Earth's ice-covered moon, Commander Ben Carter stood inside the massive hangar. His eyes stared at the black, silent ship before him, Eclipse Horizon, the first warship ever powered by controlled dark matter. Around him, engineers in dark uniforms moved quickly, checking systems and running diagnostics. No one spoke unless they had to. Everyone knew this was history being made, or possibly the beginning of a disaster. Ben was not a man who scared easily, but even he could feel the tension in the air. The ship was like nothing Earth had ever built before. Its hull was made of obsidian black alloy, invisible to radar, and cloaked in silence. It didn't use regular engines, it didn't rely on fuel or fusion. It bent the very rules of space. It could vanish and reappear across the stars using dark matter pulses, something no other species had achieved or even believed possible. Inside the control center, Director Lena Ford watched from a holographic screen, her face calm, but her hands tightly gripping the edge of her desk. Years of research, lies, secrets, and underground experiments had led to this moment. Operation Obsidian, the most secret project in Earth's history, was finally ready. "Commander Carter," she said through the comms, "you are cleared for Phase 1 jump. Set coordinates for the outer Sol barrier. Proceed when ready." Ben nodded once and turned to his pilot, a sharp-eyed woman named Riley. She ran a final systems check and gave him a thumbs up. With a single breath, Ben gave the command, "Engage dark drive." The ship didn't make a sound. There was no flash, no tremble, no thunder. One moment it was there, and the next, it was gone. The sensors went black for 5 seconds. Then a signal returned. Eclipse Horizon had reappeared just outside the edge of Earth's solar system, completely unharmed. Engines stable. Systems normal. The jump had worked perfectly. Back at Earth, HQ, silence filled the room, and then cheers erupted. Scientists hugged, engineers cried. Lena Ford closed her eyes and whispered, "We did it." But Earth wasn't celebrating openly. No announcement was made. No news reports were released. Everything stayed hidden behind layers of firewalls and encryption. Earth didn't want the galaxy to know yet. Not until it was necessary elsewhere in the city of New Geneva. A tall alien figure walked through the crowded streets unnoticed. His name was Kirill, a spy from the Jalari Council, sent to Earth years ago to observe human military progress. Until recently, he had considered his assignment boring. Humans were clever, but predictable. Now he knew how wrong he had been. Kirill had intercepted part of the signal from the Eclipse Horizon test. His translator could barely make sense of the strange energy codes, but the words "dark matter drive activated" were clear. Panic rose in his chest. If this was true, Earth had unlocked a power that most in the galaxy called suicide science. The last race to try building a dark matter engine destroyed their own sun and vanished without a trace. He tried sending a message to the Galactic Council, but Earth's cyber barriers were too strong. Every attempt was blocked, traced, or redirected. Worse, he felt like someone was already watching him. He changed routes twice and disappeared into an underground terminal. But it was too late. Earth's internal security had already marked him as a foreign agent. Back on the Eclipse Horizon, Ben and Riley stared at the stars through the reinforced glass of the command deck. "We're the first humans to be this far out with a dark matter engine," she whispered. Ben nodded slowly. "And no one out there knows what we're capable of now." As part of the mission, the ship released a small beacon, silent, invisible, and programmed to record energy shifts across nearby systems. If anything responded, they would know. But Ben wasn't expecting a response. This was just a test, or so he thought. What he didn't know was that their dark jump had not gone. Unnoticed in a nearby sector, a wandering trader ship picked up the sudden disturbance in space-time and reported it to local monitors. The trader didn't understand what it was, but the ripple it left behind was enough to send whispers through black markets and military channels. Rumors began spreading. Terran activity at the edge of space, a ghost ship with no heat signature, a vessel that vanished and reappeared without warning. Most dismissed it as a myth, a story to scare smugglers. But others paid close attention, especially those in the Council's intelligence division. Back on Earth, Lena Ford met with senior officials in a dark conference room. "We need to move to Phase 2, she said. "Start construction of the second ship, get the crews ready, and make sure the galaxy still thinks we're harmless." No one disagreed. Earth had been silent for too long, mocked by the major powers and left out of major decisions. Now, that silence was their shield, and their weapon, and somewhere in space, the black warship known as Eclipse Horizon drifted, like a shadow among the stars, silent, unseen, waiting for orders. Humanity had taken its first step into the unknown with something far more powerful than lasers or missiles. They had brought the darkness with them, and no one was ready for what would come next. In the deep corner of space called the Zoran Expanse, a pirate fleet floated quietly. The fleet was made up of old stolen ships, patched together, rough and deadly. Their leader, Captain Grell, was a former soldier turned outlaw. He had heard rumors of a lonely Terran cargo ship crossing that sector, and he saw an easy target. Human ships usually had decent supplies and weak weapons, perfect for a quick ambush. The Terran ship was moving slowly, not even trying to hide. It had no visible weapons, no escorts, and no shields raised. Grell's second-in-command, a one-eyed alien named Sarek, smiled as he gave the order to attack. The pirate fleet came out of hiding. Engines roaring, weapons locked, ready to fire. But just as the pirate missiles launched, the cargo ship began to blur. The image shimmered and shifted. The pirates blinked in confusion. The Terran ship wasn't real. It was a decoy projection. Within seconds, the space around them changed. 3 ships uncloaked, silent, black, and terrifying. At the center was Eclipse Horizon, and on its flanks were 2 stealth cruisers with no names, just numbers. Their hulls reflected no light, their shapes sharp and unnatural. It was like space itself bent around them. Before the pirates could react, everything went wrong. Their targeting systems failed, screens flickered, and alarms blared. The pirate ships tried to move, to run, but they couldn't. Something was holding them, crushing them slowly without touching them. One by one, the pirate ships began to fold inward. Their metal cracked, weapons melted, and hulls bent like paper being crumpled by an invisible hand. There were no explosions, no energy blasts, only silent destruction. Like the ships were being erased from the universe, Captain Grell screamed through the comms, "What is this? What are you?" But there was no answer from the Terran fleet. Eclipse Horizon remained still, watching, as if judging, and then it moved again, disappearing in a blink, leaving only debris and silence behind. One small pirate ship managed to survive, its engines failing, hull badly damaged. The crew, terrified, recorded everything they saw and sent a distress signal. That signal reached nearby systems, picked up by traders, mercenaries, and minor patrol stations. At first, no one believed the message: a fleet of pirates destroyed without a single shot fired. By humans? It sounded like a joke or maybe a trap. But then the signal was verified. It had the right coordinates, the right audio, and the remains of the pirate ships were found floating in the Zoran Expanse, twisted into shapes no weapon could have caused. Neutral observers from the Norathi League arrived at the scene. Their scans confirmed the impossible. There were no traces of laser fire, missile impacts, or radiation. Instead, the readings showed gravitational distortions and spatial fractures. The ships had been pulled apart by space itself. The news spread like wildfire. Videos of the twisted metal were shared in underground networks. Whispers flew from one system to the next. People began asking, what kind of weapon does Earth have? In the Galactic Council, the reaction was mixed. Some laughed and called it fake, saying humans were just using tricks and illusions. Others weren't so sure. One veteran admiral from the Varnock Empire said, "That's not a weapon, that's a message." Kirill, the alien spy still hiding on Earth, heard about the incident and felt a chill run down his back. He knew what this meant. Eclipse Horizon was no longer a secret. It had shown itself, and it had destroyed an entire fleet without even firing in the traditional sense. Earth wasn't testing anymore. They were demonstrating. Back in New Geneva, Director Lena Ford watched the reports quietly. Her advisors stood nearby, talking in low voices. "They'll come for us soon," one said. "The Council won't ignore this." Lena nodded. "Good," she said. "Let them come. We have more to show them." On board the Eclipse Horizon, Commander Ben Carter stood on the bridge, listening to the crew as they reported the aftermath. He gave no speech, no orders for celebration. Instead, he simply said, "Begin Phase 3. The stealth cruisers vanished again into the black, heading toward new coordinates. Each step carefully planned, each movement designed not just to fight, but to be seen, to make the galaxy understand that Earth was no longer weak, no longer silent. They had stepped out of the shadows, and now they walked with the power of dark matter at their side. Across dozens of systems, fear began to grow. The pirate lords called emergency meetings. Minor governments sent messengers to Earth, some to warn, others to beg, and in the Zoran expanse, nothing moved. No ships crossed it. No traders dared pass. That part of space now had a new name whispered in fear: the void of the Terrans. And yet, Earth said nothing. No press release, no reply to the Council, just silence, and the memory of 3 black ships that came and went like ghosts, leaving destruction where arrogance had once lived. Inside the Great Hall of the Galactic Council, fear and anger exploded like wildfire. The room, filled with leaders from over 100 different species, buzzed with shouting voices, blinking lights, and arguments that grew louder by the second. Some called for calm, others demanded war. But everyone had one name on their lips: Earth. The destruction in the Zoran expanse was now confirmed. The Narathi League had shared their scan results, showing the remains of the pirate fleet twisted into impossible shapes. No weapon in the known galaxy could cause such clean, silent devastation. Only one kind of technology was capable of that: dark matter manipulation. Ambassador Velen, tall and thin with dark green scales, stood in the center of the chaos. He slammed his hand on the council table. This was not a warning. This was domination, he said. They used forbidden science. They must be stopped before it spreads. He demanded Earth be brought to trial, called dangerous, and isolated from all systems. But not everyone agreed. Some council members looked nervous, unsure, remembering Earth's past, a planet once ignored, often mocked, but now able to destroy fleets without even firing in the traditional sense. Ambassador Corral of the Vexari Confederacy tried to calm the room. Maybe it was defense, she said. The pirates attacked first. Earth was protecting its ship. But Velen would not listen. "No ship is that powerful," he barked. "This is not defense. This is a message, and we're the ones it was sent to." Meanwhile, back on Earth, Director Lena Ford watched the council meeting through hidden channels. Her face was calm, as if she had already expected this reaction. She leaned back in her chair and sent out a short, encrypted message to the council. The message arrived within seconds, and when it was played in the council hall, everyone went silent. It was Lena's voice, steady and clear. "We asked for peace," she said, "but we prepared for war." The room fell quiet. No one spoke for a moment. Some lowered their eyes, others looked away. It wasn't a threat. It was a fact, a reminder that Earth had been patient, kind, and quiet for years. But now they had shown the galaxy that silence was not weakness. It was preparation. The council broke into even more chaos. One group demanded a diplomatic mission to speak with Earth directly. Another group, led by Velen, refused to wait. "We can't trust them," he said. "They won't listen." They never listened. Without waiting for a vote, Velen and his allies ordered a secret armada to be launched. Their plan was simple: intercept the Earth vessels before they reached any more systems, stop them, capture their ships, and find out the truth behind the technology. He believed that once Earth saw the Council's military strength, they would surrender or retreat, but he didn't know what he was walking into. Across the galaxy, messages spread like fire. Traders, Smugglers and information brokers passed the story of the eclipse horizon from planet to planet. Most people didn't understand what Earth had done, but they knew one thing. Terrans had become dangerous, and not just because of their new weapons, but because they had acted with precision, with control, with purpose. Some planets began to panic. A few minor species even contacted Earth directly, asking if they would be safe under Terran protection. The answers were brief but polite. Earth wasn't seeking war, but it also wasn't hiding. Inside Earth's Dark Matter Control Center, Commander Ben Carter reviewed the reports. The Council's armada had left their stations and was moving toward the Andovis sector. Their path was clear, their weapons were hot, and their intentions were obvious. Ben said nothing. He simply tapped the glass display and whispered, "Let them come." At the same time, 2 more Terran dreadnoughts completed their stealth launches. Names hidden, engines quiet. They joined the eclipse horizon in deep space. Each ship carried dark matter drives, cloaking fields, and new weapons still unknown to the rest of the galaxy. As the Council's armada moved through space, Earth's ships waited, not hiding, but watching, studying. Their scans reached far. Their AI calculated every move, every weakness. If a fight came, they would be ready. But Earth didn't make the first move. They wanted to see who the Council really was. Would they talk, or would they attack? Back in the Council chambers, Velen received word that the Earth ships had not responded to messages. He took this as refusal, as a challenge, and pushed the armada forward. But what he didn't understand was that Earth's silence wasn't fear. It was discipline. It was strategy. And somewhere far from Earth, far from the Council, an old man on a small farming world sat watching the stars. He looked up as a black shadow passed across the sky, moving without light or sound. He didn't know what it was, but he felt something change in his bones. The galaxy had shifted, and now everyone would feel it whether they were ready or not. You said explain part 5 into 800 words. Simple English ma hona chahiye, और interesting होना चाहिए. Heading नहीं लिखनी, बस part को explain करना है, जो interesting होना चाहिए. In English, ChatGPT said, the Council's secret armada entered the Andovis sector with full power. The ships were painted with the Council's proud colors, blue and silver flags waving on their digital displays. They believed they were strong. Their weapons were charged, their shields raised, and their admirals confident. They thought they would face a normal Terran ship, perhaps 2, maybe even a fleet that would run or try to negotiate. But they had no idea what was waiting for them. At the edge of a cold, dead planet, hidden behind an asteroid field, the eclipse horizon was there, silent and unmoving, like a beast resting. Before a hunt, Commander Ben Carter stood on the bridge, watching the Council fleet appear on their sensors. His eyes were calm, focused. He gave no command to retreat, no order to cloak or hide. The Council armada sent a message. It was sharp, direct, and full of pride. Terran vessel, this is the Galactic Council Enforcement Fleet. The voice said, you are using forbidden technology. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. Carter said nothing. Instead, he sent back one reply, a set of coordinates and a silent data signal. The Council ships paused, confused. Admiral Krell, leading the fleet, frowned at the numbers. Coordinates? He asked. What is this? A trap? His second-in-command replied, It's a warning, sir. But the Admiral didn't care. Prepare all weapons, he ordered. We fire on my mark. Back on the eclipse horizon, the crew waited silently. They were not afraid. They had trained for this. They were ready. The ship's dark matter shields were fully charged, surrounding them with an invisible field that bent space and light around the vessel, making it almost untouchable. The Council fired first. Dozens of energy beams and missiles rushed toward the eclipse horizon. The stars lit up with color and heat. But something strange happened. The beams didn't hit. Instead, they curved away, twisted like they were falling into an invisible hole. The missiles disappeared before impact, sucked into nothingness. Inside the Council command ship, panic spread. Our weapons aren't working, someone yelled. They're being swallowed, vanished. Before they could try again, the eclipse horizon moved. not like a normal ship. It jumped forward in a blink right into the center of the enemy fleet. No explosion, no sound, just darkness. The space around the ship shifted, a quiet pulse spreading from its core like a heartbeat of the void. One by one, the council ships began to fail. First their lights, then their engines, then their gravity systems. Some ships twisted in on themselves, folding like paper balls. Others froze mid-motion. Trapped in gravitational bubbles, a few simply blinked out, gone and still. Not a single shot was fired. Admiral Krell screamed into the comms. "What kind of weapon is this? It's not war, it's magic." But there was no answer. The eclipse horizon remained silent, only its engines humming softly as it moved through the field of broken ships. One by one, the council vessels lost power, their crews floating helplessly, unable to move or even send full messages. Only one scout ship survived, damaged, barely holding together. Its pilot, a young officer named Then, managed to escape into hyperspace, bleeding from his head and whispering to himself. His last report was shaky, broken. We never stood a chance. They never fired a single shot." When that message reached the council chamber, the silence was complete. The room was filled with faces pale and still. No one shouted this time. No one mocked Earth. The truth was clear now. Earth's warships were beyond anything the galaxy had imagined. Ambassador Velen sat down slowly, his mouth dry, his hands shaking. How did they do this?" he whispered. Others looked at him, but no one had answers. Back on Earth, Director Lena Ford received the full mission report. She didn't celebrate. She didn't call for a victory speech. Instead, she looked out the window of her high tower in New Geneva and said quietly, "They chose war," we answered. "Now they will have to choose again while they still can." In space, the wreckage of the Council fleet floated in silence. Black pieces of metal drifted through the stars, no longer proud, no longer feared. They had come with warnings, with threats, with arrogance, but they left behind a lesson. A Terran dreadnought does not warn. It does not fire unless it must. And when it does act, the galaxy is changed forever. And in the heart of that dark ship, Commander Carter closed his eyes and whispered the code for return. Eclipse Horizon vanished into the dark once more, leaving only silence, fear, and a memory the galaxy would never forget. Across the stars, the news of the Council's defeat spread like wildfire. The fleet that had gone to stop Earth's warship was gone. Some of the ships were missing. Others were found floating dead in space, torn apart without any signs of a real battle. The most shocking part was that Earth's ship had not even fired a traditional weapon. It was too much for the galaxy to understand, and fear began to take hold. Many small species, who had suffered under the rule of stronger council members, started to see things differently. For years they had lived in silence, paying taxes, giving up their resources, and watching their people suffer. Now those same powerful races were the ones shaking in fear, and the one causing that fear was Earth. On the desert world of Yostra, leaders of a small mining colony gathered in secret. They had heard of Earth's dark matter fleet, and they didn't want to become targets. One elder said, "Maybe we should surrender to Earth before the Council makes us fight." But a younger leader replied, "Maybe Earth isn't here to conquer, maybe they're here to protect." Those words began to echo across many systems. Dozens of minor governments and colony leaders started sending private messages to Earth asking the same thing. "Will you protect us?" And Earth replied with a surprise. They didn't demand anything. They didn't send soldiers or threats. Instead, Earth sent ships, not to invade, but to defend. Small dark matter cruisers appeared in the skies above weak planets. They hovered, quietly, weapons unused, scanning for danger and offering help. On Nereva 4, a once beautiful planet that had been controlled by greedy council merchants, something unexpected happened. A young alien girl, thin from hunger, stepped into the sand and looked up at the sky. A black Terran cruiser passed over her village, casting a long shadow. The girl didn't run, she didn't scream. Instead, she took a stick and drew a Terran emblem in the dirt. A simple circle. With 3 stars, she whispered, "Maybe they'll help us. That image of the girl drawing Earth symbol was captured by a wandering reporter and sent through the galaxy. Within days, millions had seen it, and the message was clear. Earth was no longer feared just for its power. It was being seen as a savior. On many planets, statues of old council leaders were pulled down, replaced by banners of peace with Earth's emblem. Some called it foolish, others called it betrayal. But for the people who had suffered, it was hope. And Earth, even with its new power, remained silent and steady. They spoke only through action. They helped sick colonies rebuild. They protected mining ships from pirates, and never once did they demand loyalty. But loyalty came anyway. Inside Earth's command center, Director Lena Ford reviewed the latest reports. Commander Ben Carter had returned from Andovis, and the second dreadnought, Silent Rain, was now operational. 2 more were nearly complete. Earth's dark matter fleet was growing, but Lena was careful. She didn't want to look like a conqueror. She wanted the galaxy to see that Earth was different. She called a meeting with her team. "We've shown what we can do," she said. "Now we show them why we did it?" Carter nodded. "We never wanted war, but now they believe we can end it. That gives us a responsibility." Captain Riley, standing near the display screen, added, "Let's make sure no one has to fear the Council again, especially the weak." And so Operation Guardian began, not a military mission but a peacekeeping one. Earth deployed ships to old conflict zones. They arrived silently, stopped violence, and left just as quietly. No banners, no speeches, just help. The galaxy couldn't believe it. Most powerful species, when given new weapons, use them to control others, but Earth used them to stop pain, to stop war. That kind of strength, the kind that didn't need to brag, was what made people trust them. Even old enemies of Earth began to send messages, not to fight but to ask for talks. Peace talks, new alliances. Some even offered to share resources, something they never would have done before. And all the while, the truth about Earth's fleet became clearer. Eclipse Horizon was just the beginning. There were more ships, each one more advanced, more silent, more impossible. They didn't look like weapons of war. They looked like warnings carved in black steel, reminders that Earth had learned not only how to fight, but how to stop a fight before it ever began. In the shadows, some council leaders still planned revenge, but they knew they were running out of time. Because with every passing day, more species stopped listening to them and started listening to Earth. The balance of power had shifted, not through fear, but through action, through restraint. And in every part of the galaxy, people began to speak a new name with respect. Not tyrants, not rulers, just one word: Terrans. Kirill had always believed in the Galactic Council. He had been trained to spy on Earth, to watch them closely and report any danger. At first he had laughed at the humans, so emotional, so chaotic, building ships in secret, hiding like children. But after seeing what the Eclipse Horizon did to the Council's fleet, Kirill's belief shattered. He no longer saw Earth as a threat. He saw them as the only ones willing to stop the real danger. That danger was now growing on planet Veltrax. Veltrax was not on any public star map. It was hidden deep in a restricted zone, guarded by old council warships. Most species didn't even know it existed. But Kirill did, because that's where the council was building something terrifying. A weapon big enough to destroy a moon with one shot. Something powered not by plasma or fusion, but by stolen dark matter research, the very thing they had accused Earth of using. And worst of all, the Council had enslaved scientists from across the galaxy to build it. Kirill had seen the reports, the secret videos, the faces of engineers crying for help. He couldn't stay silent anymore, so he ran. Earth's security teams caught him before he even reached their atmosphere. His shuttle was damaged, smoking, barely flying. But instead of killing him, Earth brought him in, cleaned his wounds, and listened to what he had to say inside a dark chamber in New Geneva. Kirill stood before Director Lena Ford. He was tired, dirty, and afraid, but his voice was strong. "Veltrax," he said. "That's where they're building it. You think the Council is afraid now? Wait until they finish that weapon. They won't fear you. They'll erase you." Lena looked at him for a long time. She believed him. She turned to her command team. "Prepare Operation Eclipse Storm," she said. We're going to Veltrax. 5. Dark matter dreadnoughts were launched, each one stronger than the last. Eclipse Horizon led the way, followed by Silent Rain, Iron Ember, Void Whisper, and the newest ship, Nightcross. The fleet was silent as it left Earth. Cloaked and invisible, each ship moved like a ghost, sliding through the stars with no sound, no light, only purpose. Captain Riley was given command of the operation. She was sharp, brave, and known for never losing a single battle. Commander, Carter trusted her completely. Find the truth, he told her, and make sure the galaxy sees it. When the fleet arrived near Veltrax, they didn't attack right away. Instead, they scanned the planet, locating the hidden base deep inside a mountain range. The energy readings were worse than expected. The weapon was almost ready, and the scientists were working in chains. Riley gave the signal. The dreadnoughts moved into position, blocking every possible escape route. Then, without a single warning, the Terran fleet jumped directly into the atmosphere of Veltrax, appearing just above the mountain facility, the Council. Guards panicked. They fired everything they had, missiles, plasma, railguns, but nothing worked. The dark matter shields absorbed every blast like it was dust in the wind. Within minutes, Earth's ground forces were deployed. Elite squads in black armor dropped from the sky, silent and fast. They didn't shoot unless they had to. Instead, they cut open the cages, freed the scientists, and shut down the weapon's power core. One young engineer, a lizard-like boy from the planet Arandis, fell to his knees when the Terrans removed his collar. I thought no one would ever come, he whispered. Captain Riley recorded everything, every broken chain, every damaged lab, every prisoner. And then she sent the footage across the galaxy, unedited, uncensored, straight into the public networks of every major system. The reaction was instant and massive. People were shocked. Some wept. Others became furious. The Council had lied for years, accusing Earth of crimes while secretly doing worse themselves. Protests broke out on Council worlds. Statues were torn down. Old leaders were arrested by their own people. Ambassador Velen tried to deny it, but the truth was too clear. The recordings couldn't be hidden. His voice had been captured, ordering the use of slave labor. Ordering the testing of the weapon on prisoners. His face became a symbol of corruption and cruelty. The Council began to fall apart. Member species started leaving, one after another. They sent messages to Earth. We believe you now, we want peace. Will you accept us? And Earth did not gloat. They did not brag. They simply replied, we will protect those who wish for peace, but never again will we be ignored. Back on Veltrax, the facility burned, not from Earth's attack, but from its own collapsing systems. The weapon was destroyed. The scientists were free, and the message had been delivered to every corner of the galaxy. The era of lies was ending, and the Terrans had made sure of it, not through conquest, but through truth, strength, and the courage to act when no one else would. The fall of the Galactic Council did not come with war. It came with silence, shame, and fear. After the truth from Veltrax spread across the stars, the people no longer trusted the old leaders. The council chambers that were once full of proud voices and loud debates were now empty. The flags of unity that once waved with honor were torn down by the very citizens who had once believed in them. Planet after planet announced they were leaving the council. Whole star systems voted to break their ties. Some formed small alliances. Others declared independence, but most of them did something unexpected. They turned to Earth. Earth, the planet once ignored and mocked, had become a symbol of justice. People saw how Earth didn't conquer, but defended. They remembered the girl on Nereva 4, drawing the Terran emblem in the sand. They remembered the scientists saved from Veltrax. They remembered the Terran fleet that defeated a council armada without firing a single traditional weapon. Director Lena Ford stood before the leaders of Earth and the new allies. A large meeting was held in orbit above Mars, on a floating station called Haven 1. It was not a place of power, it was a place of peace. There was no throne, no army standing guard, just people from many worlds sitting together trying to build something new. Lena stood at the center and spoke in her calm voice. "We never wanted to rule anyone," she said. "We never wanted to become monsters like those who once ruled us. We only wanted to be heard, to be treated as equals, but when we were ignored, we prepared. We never wanted to conquer. We just refused to be victims." Her words were broadcast to the entire galaxy, in marketplaces, schools, mining stations, and ships. People listened, and many felt something new, not fear, but hope. Former enemies stepped forward. The Varnock sent ambassadors, the Jalari offered to share their star charts. Even members of the Broken Council asked to join the new alliance, not as rulers but as equals. Earth accepted them with caution but also with open hands. A new accord was signed. A treaty of peace and mutual respect, not based on fear, not based on taxes or punishments, but on understanding and shared defense. Every member had a voice. Every planet had the right to call for help, and the Terran fleet would be there. The Terran fleet no longer hid in shadows. Their ships now traveled openly across the stars, each one still powered by dark matter, but no longer feared as monsters. Now they were protectors. When pirates attacked trade routes, the Terrans came. When a disease broke out on a small farming world, Earth sent ships with medicine and doctors. They helped without asking for reward. On a small green world called LER-3, children of many species played together for the first time in years. And when a Terran cruiser passed overhead, they didn't scream or hide. They waved. One boy shouted, "Look, that's the eclipse horizon, the one that saved the galaxy." Inside the black hull of the great ship, Commander Ben Carter stood on the bridge. He looked out at the stars and saw no enemy fleets, no burning worlds, only peace. Captain Riley stood beside him. "We've come a long way," she said. Carter nodded. "But we stay ready because peace needs protection too." Back on Earth, people were watching the stars more than ever before, but not with fear, with wonder, because now Earth was part of something greater, something they helped build. They were no longer the silent ones, no longer the forgotten planet on the edge of the galaxy. They were leaders, warriors, protectors, and explorers. And yet, even with all their power, they remained humble. No cities were renamed, no kings were crowned. Instead, Earth kept doing what it had always done, fighting when they had to, helping when they could, and listening when others needed a voice. The black ships of Earth, once feared as ghosts of war, became symbols of peace. They were seen not as weapons but as shields, guarding the galaxy from the return of corruption and cruelty. And far in the distance, beyond the edge of known space, a new Terran ship prepared to launch. It wasn't a warship. It was an explorer, built for deep space travel, powered by the same dark matter drive, but armed only with science and curiosity. As it left Earth's orbit, a small child in New Geneva watched it through a telescope. Her voice was full of joy as she said, "Where do you think they'll go next?" Her grandfather smiled and replied, "Anywhere they want, because now the galaxy listens when Earth speaks." And so the Terrans moved forward, not to rule, but to guide, not to fight, but to protect. And the stars, once full of danger and silence, now carried the promise of something new. A galaxy where even the smallest planet had a protector, and where the shadows no longer brought fear, because Earth had become the light that ended them.